1 week down. We've got about 11 or 12 left to go in the NHL season. It's been a blast so far. Hey, how are you? It's Cody James at World Hockey Report Live, coming to you at 12-ounce Sports Zingo TV channel 761, brought to you by mybookie.ag. Use promo code 12OZ Sports when signing up. All caps, no spaces. And they're going to hook you up. They'll match your deposit up to $1,000 for you first timers. Snap over to Saskatchewan. We got Adam Urban-Trout with us. Adam, what's up, buddy?
Not much, man. Just enjoying the first week of hockey.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to complain about it. It's been good, too. I mean, the Canadian division has lived up to the hype, and I think we got to give them credit where it's due. You know, no one's really been blown out of the water. The Oilers have had a rough start, but end of the day, all these games have been interesting. I like that aspect.
Yeah, I think the hockey's been really good, and I mean, there's been a lot of chirping, physicality, and it's hard to believe we're already 5 games in. That's almost like 10% of the season down the drain, so I better get going.
Yeah, wow. I mean, when you look at it, you're kind of like, okay, these teams have started off, and you're like, wow, the Oilers, 1-3 to start. And then you think about it, you're kind of like, okay, well, they're on pace for 12 wins this year? I'm not a math guy, but it's not looking pretty there. You don't really have too much time to turn things around. And if all of a sudden you go 1-9 or 2-8 to start, that's a huge hole to climb out of. I mean, that is monstrous. How do you say it? Monstrosous? I don't know. Whatever it is.
That wasn't a hit.
That's massive. It's massive to fall behind. Okay, let's quickly zip through some news here. Actually, first, today on the show, Tyler Cash is going to join us, host of the Fourth Line Goon and Rider FM. Rider from Rider, at least in the mornings on Play 107, a YAG icon, beauty guy, WABC grad. Gonna hop on. I know he's gonna have funny stories. We're gonna hit it off with him at around 11:20 here, local time, 11:40 for Tyler Cash. NHL news, hockey news to get to. This one's kind of breaking right now. Canes, their games against the Panthers Thursday and Saturday, I believe, they're gonna be postponed, canceled, whatever you want to call it. We did have a trade in the NHL. It's our first one in a while. Ian Cole goes to the Wild, opens up a couple of spots on Colorado's back end. Not overly surprising. The tracking pucks, those were an absolute bust. I've seen a lot of guys kind of calling them out, saying, hey, they didn't have the same feel. Good work on the NHL there. Good thing we tested those out adequately before we put them in hockey games. That seems stupid. Okay, this is baseball, though. Adam, you're a baseball guy. The Jays got this Springer guy and someone else here today. Everyone seems to be making news. I mean, are they going to be good or no? Is it just going to be disappointing?
I'm pretty happy about it. I'm not gonna lie. I think
was he one of the cheaters though? Like was he like one of the guys who was like banging on trash cans?
Yeah, he was in
okay,
on
I
that,
like it. I'm down for it.
But you know what? He was one of the few guys who actually apologized for it. There's a bunch of memes going out with the Dwight Schrute, like I state my regret or whatever, where he puts on the paper. But no, I mean he's in a class with like Mike Trout and Christian Yelich, is like the best players in baseball the last couple of years. So, I mean, you sign a 31-year-old for 6 years. It's a little risky, but why not? For the Canes positive test, so my Panthers are getting screwed, aren't they? I mean, they
Your go 2-0. Panthers.
They go 2-0 against the Blackhawks, but
barely.
They don't play against Dallas, and now they're not going to play through the weekend against Carolina too. But this is what the NHL kind of signed up for, right? The players knew that this was going to happen, that they were going to be pushed back or whatever. And I mean, you just kind of deal with it. The NFL just didn't stop for anyone. And the NBA, I don't even really keep track of the NBA because every day there's games canceled, but this is what it is for now.
Okay, I got two thoughts on that. Also, your Panthers are a joke. I mean, they're benching their $10 million goalie, and Zito's trying to get rid of a top 10 offensive defenseman in the NHL. So that says enough about where the Florida Panthers are at. But also, with these COVID cases, I think it was Pierre LeBrun who kind of wrote on how the NHL's testing's flawed, which it completely is. Like, okay, the Canes, I believe, this is a rough number, they got 4 or 5 guys out with COVID, correct?
4.
4?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So why can they not put a team on the ice? You've got 28 players in your team and taxi squad. Like, you got 4 out. You can play hockey. Like, get them rapid tested 2 or 3 times on game day. Whatever you got to do. and make
Yeah.
them play. Why are we going to push all these games back? Because here, now the Panthers are going to have 4 games pushed back in a 56 game schedule come playoff time. What if they're playing 12 games in 14 days before the first round of playoffs? Like they're getting absolutely pounded.
Yeah.
It's not even fair at this point. It's stupid. Like why not
I
play the games? If you got to play short benched, you got it. Sorry, don't get COVID. I don't know. Take better precautions. Smarten up.
I think it's an exposure thing though, right? Like where like they're around all those guys, and I mean I don't even know how it works anymore because the New Orleans Saints in the NFL had to play without a running back for their one game because all the guys in the position rooms were exposed to it. But like, how doesn't that go back to like you're huddling up with these guys and all that? So I don't know, and I'm sure people in Vancouver are pissed off. Their team's 1-3, and they're without probably their best player without for the first 3 games. So I mean, it's a shitty year, but it could be worse. They could not be playing at all. So
That's fair. I just think that kind of okay. If you've got like all 3 of your goaltenders out, sure, let's postpone the game. But if you're just missing a few players, too bad. You voted to play. Play the games. Don't screw over the Panthers because of Carolina's choices and whatnot. Okay, moving along though. The Jays are going to be a wagon once like Vlad's got to get on that James Harden diet, eh? Like
dude, he's been on it. He's posting
just
progress pictures.
just drop 30 in a week and then he's fine. I found this kind of funny though. The Tim's funny is a terrible word to talk about an
Hilarious.
injury.
Hilarious. The guy gets hurt.
Shut the so like Stutz, like he gets hurt, like he's out for the game tonight or yesterday or whatever, and it's from a cross check against the Leafs. And Austin Matthews' agent was the one going and bitching about cross checks the other day. Like I don't know, it's kind of a two-way street here. All of a sudden, the Leafs, this guy wants everyone to play angel hockey, but if his team's doing it to other people, okay, not a problem there. Like I don't know, kind of pick a
Yeah.
side here. No one likes a two-faced clown.
The NHL is a little backwards with this because, if a cross check in front of the defensive zone nets, it's hard hockey or whatever. But if that was like the offensive guy cross checking the defenseman over, then clearly it's going to be a penalty. And some of the penalties are just backwards. Like I was watching the Calgary Canucks game the other day, and
That's
Kachuk's
the
in there.
stupidest thing to call him, but continue.
Well, yeah, he's Kachuk's standing over the goalie, and like 5 seconds later, Roussel comes up to him, puts him in a headlock, and kind of like almost wrestles him to the ground and just play on. I guess is what it was. So there's I I think the league has a difficult time with being a pest and being hard to play against, and what's a penalty and what's not, and the whole they're putting the whistles away and letting the play doesn't really make any sense either because if it's not a penalty in the first 5 minutes, then why is it in the last 5 minutes or whatever?
That's just the league, though. I mean, it's never going to change. Okay, you brought up the Flames, though. Let's talk them quick. Markstrom looks good. I think that's kind of what they needed, though, was a guy with a little bit of piss and vinegar behind him who actually gives a damn about how the game goes, has a little bit more intensity, and I like it. I think he's one of the guys, like, he'll hold his defense accountable. He'll hold his forwards accountable, and he'll also, I mean, he'll walks the talk. Markstrom's a great addition for the Flames so far, in my opinion. He was good in those games against Vancouver, but I think he brings that element of leadership, of accountability that Calgary kind of needs. I mean, they've played a spoiled brat style for long enough that this is kind of going to be someone who will actually make a difference on the roster.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, he plays the puck really well too. And I think Calgary missed that a bit without Mike Smith, but Mike Smith wasn't really a great goaltender for them, and Markstrom is. So yeah, they've needed some stability, and a lot of people make comments about the length of the contract, but he doesn't have that many miles on him. He hasn't really been a starter for more than 4 or 5 years, so that's good. And man, Chris Tanev, I didn't really know that he was this steady of a player. I thought he was just kind of like a 5 or 6 defenseman, but he actually makes a really good first pass. And the game against Vancouver, he blocked 8 shots, and I can understand why he's been hurt all the time, but if you can get that guy 80%, 90% of the games this year, he's a great addition, and he's a better all-around player than TJ Brody, who is a nice skater but makes far too many errors. And sure enough, 4 games into Toronto, he's become a bit of a whipping boy.
He battles his ass off. I'll give him credit for that. And I think that's one of the things where, I think back to that was it game 6 against Dallas where they were up 3-rip and just got absolutely taken to town after. Like that's where I think that those steady defensive guys are going to come into play, right? You need someone who can hold the fort, who can kind of steady the ship when the storm gets ugly. I think those are a real critical piece in building a serious playoff contender. That's what the Flames need. I didn't, dive too deep into like Gaudreau and Monahan. I think they've been fine. I think that they can still pick their game up a little bit.
I like what they've done with their forward group because I don't think Michael Backlund's really a second line center. I think he's a good shutdown center, properly slotted probably in the third spot. So by them putting Lindholm up with Kachuk and Gaudreau and Monahan with Levo or Simone or whatever, I like that better for balance because it seemed like last year I don't even know what they were doing. They put Backlund and Frolik on their second line, and Backlund's their third line center now, and Frolik's on a taxi squad. So they've made some small upgrades up front.
Yeah, Frolik was. We won't comment on that, or we'll have Alan Walsh coming for our throats again. Let's move on to the Oilers. Talk some Oilers here. We got a couple of minutes. We're going to dive into it. We'll get Ryder to throw on his Ken Hall and Dave Tippett hat in a bit here. But, I mean, what's wrong? They're 1-3. This is a team that people are like, okay, yeah, the addition of Barry is going to change them. Their forward depth is going to change them. They're a new team out there. Koskinen's an 8.97 goaltender. That sucks. McDavid and Draisaitl have been invisible for 3 of the 4 games. I don't know. I don't know. There's no magic switch we can flip here, but this just seems like the same old Oilers to me. They're going to go as far as Connor McDavid takes them.
Yeah. I'm not going to be too hard on them. I'll still give them a bit of a pass just because I think Montreal and Toronto are in a class of their own right now as far as the North Division goes. Like Montreal's top 4 defensemen, you're not getting around Sherrod, Edmondson, Petrie, Weber. I thought they did a good job, and yeah, but for Edmonton, they've got absolutely nothing from 15 guys. Like that's a lot of guys, and Cahoon looks fine. Kyle Turris, if Nashville was banking on him to be their second line center last 2 years, I really don't understand what's happened to him, but he's been horrendous for 4 games or whatever. And McDavid and Draisaitl, I thought they were good against Vancouver, but against Montreal, they were horrible. And I mean, we'll get into Dave Tippett a bit, but his inability, and we all follow these Oilers guys on Twitter, they are going crazy to put Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins, and Yamamoto back together. And I can see it at this point. They're one of the best teams in the league with that line. And he's just refusing to go back to it. Like, I mean, you can't teach old dog new tricks, I guess.
Yeah, that was one of my things too, and I guess we might as well jump ahead to it for Quack Stats here. Okay, I mean, like, when we're talking about who we're going to bench this week for our friends at Quack Stats, the most advanced player tracking technology, who am I sitting? It's got to be Dave Tippett. You got to put back together RNH, Draisaitl, and Yamamoto. I mean, you kind of put the stat out there. I think they're 2-6 since they broke up the line. But also, Draisaitl's line, have they been their best? Yeah, but it's not like they've been anything phenomenal. Put one line together. This is how unlethal, undangerous the Oilers' offense has been. Is Montreal didn't have to match up deep pairings against any of their lines. You've got two of the top 5 players in the world, and a team doesn't have to match up their deep pairings against those guys. You're doing something way wrong. Dave Tippett, you're benched.
I'll stick with my non-hockey theme of benching guys, and I'll bench Jared Porter, the Mets GM, who sent that girl reporter 62 pictures or 62 messages, and like there's some naughty pictures in there, so we can bench him. He got gas though, so well on Steve Cohen.
Like that guy, just launch him into the moon. I mean, 62 is just that's an crazy amount of messages to like not get the hint. Plus, if you're going to throw in some schlong picks in there, like take a hike. Good thing he's gone from baseball. Okay, we got a minute. I just want your thoughts on Nurse and Gallagher. Like, I mean, you can cry about it, and then we're going to hit to commercial.
Yeah, I tweeted out the video. It got a lot of, I guess, a lot of notice. And the Montreal fans are all, oh, like, what about what Nurse did to Gallagher? And Nurse pretty much went to, like, he hit him from behind, but he's pressed up against the glass, whatever. Gallagher hits Nurse 3 feet away from the boards, and that's a spot where you could break your neck. Like, I think that's a way worse play, and especially when a guy's not expecting it. Like, if Gallagher's behind the net up against the boards, he's probably expecting somebody to come pin him. But Nurse is making a D play behind the net, not even really looking. Not that his hockey sense is great or anything, but Gallagher throws him into the boards, and I thought that was Gracie, and how that one didn't get a fine or something was ridiculous. Like, and that's the classic, right? If Nurse stays on the ice for 2 minutes there, it's a 5 in a game and probably a 5 game suspension.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think it kind of comes down to potential versus actual incident where Nurse, he did hit Gallagher's head into the boards. It's a dangerous play, can cause an injury. But what Gallagher did, if that's a potential right there for a career ender. I mean, that's the potential for something way worse. It's a dangerous play. The NHL needs to address it because that can't keep happening. Alrighty, let's head off to commercial break here. Cody Jansen, Adam Ermintrout with you. World Hockey Report live on 12-ounce sports. We're going to be back with Ryder Edmonton legend on Play 107 mornings after this.